My name's Jeff Waters. I'm a journalist for the ABC. I'm married with 2 children and I'm 44 years old. I had a massive cardiac arrest in February 2010 and came without warning. I had about a minute and a half, 2 minutes warning before I dropped dead. I'm a hobby cook and I'd been cooking a big banquet basically for friends on a very hot February night, and I'd consumed about a bottle of red, and I'd just gotten into bed with my wife about, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I felt nauseous. I felt like throwing up very, very quickly, spontaneously, and I rushed into the bathroom and was sick. I assumed it was the wine, though that was very uncharacteristic of me to only drink a bottle and throw up. But I went straight into the bathroom and threw up and came back to the wife and said I was experiencing some pain in my chest. And I was very lucky, she's a GP, she's a doctor. So she said to me, well, you just threw up and you've got pain in the chest. What else is happening? And I said, well, I feel a bit sort of breathless and a bit sort of clammy, a bit sweaty. And she instantly became alarmed and I didn't really know why at that stage. I then said to her, no, I'm feeling okay now, let's just go to sleep. So I lay down again and within about 30 seconds sat upright, bolt upright, and said, no, this pain is getting much worse across my chest and it's now going down my left arm. So Fiona, my wife, jumped up and raced into the living room to grab the phone and started calling an ambulance, and came back into the bedroom saying, I'm calling an ambulance. I can't remember this bit exactly. And I started telling her off. Not, angrily, but started saying, don't be ridiculous. Why are you calling an ambulance? I can't get an ambulance. We've got 2 kids. It's the middle of the night. What are we going to do with the kids? I'm not going to go to hospital just for a panic attack. And she said, well, you don't have panic attacks. And I said, well, actually, yes, you're right. And just as she was giving our address to the ambulance, a sort of black curtain descended from top to bottom, and I thought I was fainting. I still didn't at that stage believe I was having a heart attack. And so I made a joke. I said, something like, here I go, darling, goodbye, which she thought was a premonition of my death, but I wasn't that smart. And I dropped dead and instantly apparently looked grey and dead for all the world, and had no heartbeat. So Fiona started, threw the phone down. Thankfully, I'd already given our address, and started CPR. 7 minutes after I blacked out, the ambulance arrived, the paramedics. There were 2 ambulances. The fire brigade showed up, and the fireys were giving me CPR and took over the CPR while the paramedics shocked me with the defibrillator about 30 times. They finally, after about just over half an hour, got enough heartbeat to take me to hospital, which was very lucky. I was put on what's called a 12-lead ECG, which is a new thing, so that I was diagnosed by the doctors while I was still in the ambulance on the way to hospital, remotely, which is pretty impressive, so that they could crash call all the cardiologists and the doctors at Monash Hospital, and they rushed into the hospital so that they could do a procedure on me. Unfortunately, I died again in the emergency ward, and they had to shock me again and get me going again. They did just long enough to get me into what's called the cath lab, where they inserted through my groin a line up into my artery in my heart to inflate a small balloon, which cleared the blockage, and then they inserted a stent. Now that normally takes a procedure that normally takes about half an hour, 45 minutes, but because I kept dying, and then coming back, that took about 5 hours. They eventually got me going, and then they kept my body very cold, which is also a new thing, which was developed only a few years ago in Melbourne. and has now been followed up around the world, so as to help my internal organs and my brain recover from the shock and to take the weight off my heart. And that helped me have a fantastic recovery in that I didn't have any real brain damage and or any long term. Well, I do have long term heart damage, but not as bad as it would have been. I woke up about 2 days or 2.5 days later. They slowly brought me around, and my wife was there, and she was the one that told me that I'd had a heart attack, but I didn't quite believe it and kept disagreeing with her. But then again, I was heavily sedated, and I had the memory of a goldfish. I kept repeating the question, where am I? What's going on? Which was very distressing for her, because at that stage they didn't know if I was going to wake up with the brain of a potato or not. And it was very likely that I was going to be majorly brain damaged. And so she saw this, and there was a good chance that that was what I was going to be like for the rest of my life. But thankfully, the next day I'd improved, and then the following day I'd improved more than that. So I don't have any memory of what was going on for probably about 4 days. And then I was confronted with the fact that here I was, the fellow that the ABC often sends to the most remote locations, foreign correspondent for years, completely incapacitated for the first time in my life, in a hospital bed, and facing, the possibility of major debilitation for the rest of my life.